for me, this is the real fun part. This is the life cycle of a sheep. So I'm going to introduce you to some tools that we use, and I've got some links at the end. And one of my favorite things to use is an app to help me with my sheep management, sheep life cycle. So our RAM that we've been using is called Detonator. So you'll see the word detonated come up in a few slides. And really what you've got in terms of a sheep life cycle is 3 key stages. You've got pre-joining, which is everything pre-pregnancy, if you like. The actual pregnancy itself, anyone know how long a sheep is pregnant for? About 5 months. About 5 months generally, and I'll show you exactly what we can do to pin it down. And then you've got the lactation period, which is when the lambs are feeding off their mother. So you can see here, this was one of the little lambs that was born on our property just a couple of months ago, and a couple of others as well. And Missy, who is outside, is about 3 months old. So she's been the first bottle-fed lamb we've had in about 3 years. So that'll tell you the mothering abilities of these sheep. So in these 3 stages, these 3 specific stages, what you actually have is you've got, so this is all from the app that I'll tell you about. So basically you just pop your dates in the app, and then the app just spits out everything that you need to do to manage the life cycle of the sheep. So in terms of the pre-joining, you've got a few things to sort of do. So we decided that we would join this year. We joined on the 7th of April 2018 with our Wiltshire Horns. They're seasonal breeders, so they will come into cycle. So basically they'll come into heat anytime between late February and up until the winter solstice. So you've got that sort of time period. Most breeders would put a ram out on Valentine's Day, great day, for the romance, and hopefully lamb in July or August. Because we're still working, we decided we would lamb in September school holidays, which has worked pretty well for us. So that was our joining date. So I popped that into the app, and then the app spits out, well, what do I need to do before I join? So I need to make sure my rams and my ewes are all healthy. And particularly with that, I need to think about the fact that are they on good quality pasture. We try as much as we can to manage our sheep on pasture, but we do increase the feed demand, which I'll tell you about in just a second later on. We then isolate the ewes from the rams. Now what this does is it creates what's called the ram effect. So if you separate your ram like a few paddocks away from your ewes then, when you introduce the ram, instantly that puts them on heat. So what that means is that hopefully your lambing will be as close as possible. And okay, for the majority of us, it doesn't really matter. But if you're thinking about vaccinations and tagging and marking and then getting your lambs ready for the table, a lot of farmers will want to have that as streamlined as possible. So when we think about that, that's really all it is. But we actually had a very long lambing cycle this year. We lambed from July right through to September. But we're very lucky. Yvonne's here with us today. We've got some wonderful neighbours who helped us a lot with that, but we wouldn't recommend doing that again. So we joined on the 7th of April. We take the rams out, so the rams stay in for about 6 weeks or so. They do their job. A sheep cycles every 3 months, so you get 2 cycles, which means hopefully you get 100% pregnancy, and we have had 100% pregnancy since we've been doing it. You can do preg testing. Very, very few of us will do that. It's really not all that hot and essential at all. Next stage you need to think about here is making sure that your ewes don't suffer from pregnancy toxemia. Does anyone know what pregnancy toxemia is? So what happens is that a lot of ewes will have twins or triplets or sometimes quads, and because there's so much demand on their body, they'll eventually go into starvation mode. So you want to increase the feed so that they don't basically sacrifice themselves for the sake of their lambs. So if you increase the feed, now this could be putting them on clover grass, but it is the middle of winter, so that's pretty hard. So what we do is we supplementary feed our ewes with some grain. So if we need to do that, we will do that, and we definitely have to do that this year, given that we have a very dry autumn. Then we hopefully get to the stage where we sort of move into the next stage where we do our vaccinations, and the FWEC is the John might have mentioned that earlier. This is the fecal worm egg count. And you basically take some sample of their feces and send it off to the vet. The vet charges about $30 and they give you an analysis on worms. And that's pretty important time because you want your ewes to be as healthy as possible when they lamb. So we do that, and we did it around about the 5th of August. And what that does is you vaccinate. Anyone know what you would use to vaccinate a ewe? No? So you'd use either a 5-in-1 or a 6-in-1. And there's 2 products on the market. We just use a Zoetis Ultravax, and we just vaccinate them. It's just about 1 mil under the skin, and your ewes then pass on that protection to their lambs when they're born. And if you use a 5-in-1, it's stuff like tetanus and pulpy kidney and all the usual sort of diseases that a sheep could actually get. So that's what the vaccination would be. You do your worm count. If you have high worm burden, then the vet would tell you what sort of drench to use. And with a sheep, you just drench down the throat. So you just have a drenching gun and drench down the throat if you need to. We were doing that the other day, right? Then you're lambing. Again, fun times. We find with Wiltshire horns, again, I come from an Irish sheep farm, and I really do sort of feel sorry for my brother, because in Ireland it's exceptionally cold and wet in winter when they lamb. My brother starts his lambing later now, but it still was snowing last March in Ireland, and he's having to keep his sheep indoors for 4 or 5 months, which means they don't walk around, they don't move, they don't have any fresh grass. So when it comes to lambing, my brother is up day and night pulling lambs out of ewes. Our sheep stay in the paddock. We might bring them in at night, but they're walking around, which means they literally just pop a lamb out and off they go. As you saw that picture there, she just pops a lamb out, she licks it, and she goes on with her business. So very rare that you have to intervene or help out at all. Sometimes you would, but very, very rare. So then you've got fun of lambing. Lambs are a bit like kids. They have a witching hour. I don't know if you have any kids. John has kids, I know. So around about 5 or 6 o'clock in the evening, they go pretty crazy in the paddocks. They jump around. So it's really, really good fun to sort of see. Next thing you would do then is you do your marking and vaccinations. Anyone know what marking is? Yep, exactly. Cool. So this is where, for us, we'll put a ring on the boys' testicles. The majority of boys this year, we've kept 2 boys out of we had about 50 lambs or so. But we are a registered stud. We've got all the biosecurity that John was talking about, but we still only keep very, very few. So we would mark, we'd also bring the tails, and then we vaccinate the lambs. This year we added a little bit extra. We gave them a bit of a vitamin boost and a bit of a kelp boost as well, just to help them along the way. But really all they need is a vaccination. And then you do 1 dose for the lamb, and then another 2 weeks you do another dose as well. Then, as you can see here around about now, this is when we start to do our worm egg count again, do our samples, and then in a couple of weeks we'll be into weaning. We've already weaned some of our batches, but we're about to wean the rest. So this is a beautiful app, as you can see. You can just really plan your year and know when you're going to have those critical points.